Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah and welcome to it is 1800 hours and another beautiful Sunday, and it's a warm welcome to our yet another episode of the SGN Weekend Depth, where we give you a review of our week stories as well as discussions with our guests regarding the things that have happened over the week. So today I'll be your host, and with me will be our guests, which are Honorable Yahya Menteng Sanyang, who is the National Assembly member for Latrikunda Savage, as well as Yahya Sonko, a migration or expert. So, but first of all, as usual, we will start with the news reviews, after which I will be joined by my guests, inshallah. So, to start with, the first headline that we'll be talking about is we have Alhaj Dabo, Senior Administrative Secretary of the Opposition United Democratic Party, who is also the National Assembly member for Brikama North, has accused President Barrow of implanting tribal politics in the country. So Mr. Dabo made these remarks during UDP's regional congress in URR. According to the parliamentarian, President Barrow is the only leader that has been whispering in the ears of different tribes, which he said none of the presidents, ranging from Yahya Jammeh to Jawara, have never done before. So he called on the people of URR to stop condoning tribal politics, and adding that all the tribes go to the same market and face the same issues as Gambians. If you look at this, I think there's an element of truth here, because if you bring in tribal politics, it's going to misinform the people, because regardless of your tribe, you're going to go to the same markets, go to the same public schools. Your children are going to go to the same public schools, and you're going to basically face the same issues as Gambians. So tribal politics really does not and will not help the Gambia. So in a similar vein, during the same Congress, he actually urged the attendees of the Congress to vote for UDP's chairmanship candidate, who is also the current incumbent chairman of Brikama. Sorry. So yeah, he's the current chairman of that in that area, and he actually urged the attendees to vote for him. Who he's also the UDP's candidate, of course. So the race towards local government election is actually intensifying as parties have been getting ready, getting their candidates ready, going to Congress and making sure they talk to the people and ensure that they win this local government election. And speaking of politics and political parties, we've seen that last week a new political party has been revealed by the IEC, the Independent Electoral Commission, and it seems the number of political parties in the country seems to not have reached its highest yet, as we've seen political parties getting registered. The recent one is the one formed by one Ibrahim Tabora Mane, who is the son of the renowned former chief of Nyomi, Alhaji Tabora Mane, and he has joined the political space, calling his party the People's Alliance Party. So, Mr. Mane, actually, it could be recalled that Mr. Mane attempted to contest in the last presidential election, but his bid was trashed by the IEC. So that is that. I think this local government election is going to be interesting. In fact, we have a new political party joining the race, so it is definitely going to be a difficult race for the existing political parties already. So they have a lot of competitors to deal with. So away from that, we also have this other headline. We have Sabali to face Gash CEO in High Court. So the High Court is actually ready for the one of the biggest lawsuits, civil lawsuits in the country, filed by the CEO of Gash against top economist Mr. Mamoudou Sabali. So Joara accused Sabali of defamation of character, defamation of his company rather, and slander, which cost his company's productivity, and he is demanding a compensation of $8 million, as well as a public apology, which is going to be featured in the nation's newspapers. So Sabali, who is known for his unapologetic nature of dealing with situations like this, has described someone as ill-conceived and malicious. So he said that it seeks to actually threaten and restrict the right to freedom of expression, which he said is a fundamental democratic and constitutional right, human rights given to everybody. So Sabali is actually determined to defend himself and says he will never in a billion years apologize to Plantafe, and also he is ready to actually face Jawara and Plantif in court. So you could see the picture right there of our publication of the 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 headline. So yeah, this case is actually expected to attract a lot of attention, as thousands of Gambians have reacted to it, expressing their support and solidarity with Mr. Sabali, and also vowed to actually come out in large numbers in Banjul tomorrow for the hearing. So tomorrow is the D-Day, and Sabali is actually set to face the CEO of GAS in court. So moving now to sports, we actually have stories here that we have not talked about, but stay tuned. I'll be having my guests here, Honorable Yahya Sanyang and Yahya Sonko, who is a migration expert. We were talking about the Gambia police confirming a Gambian, two Gambians involved in murder, where one of the Gambians killed his companion. We'll also be talking about the OIC project with Yahya and Sayang. So stay tuned for the rest of the current affairs that we have for you. We're actually going to discuss it with our guests, inshallah, later in the program. So moving on to sports, we have FIFA Secretary General, who is Senegalese. He said that Senegal will actually rely on witch doctors for Sadio Mane's recovery. So we've seen that last week, the Senegalese international star Sadio Mane was reported to likely miss the World Cup due to an injury that he picked up during Bayern's clash with Werder Bremen. So on Tuesday, scans have which happened on Tuesday actually. The encounter happened on Tuesday, and he only played 20 minutes, and then he picked up this injury that is likely to actually cost Senegal the World Cup, his World Cup participation. So scans have actually revealed that the fibular injury that he has could be very severe, but Senegalese FIFA Secretary General Fatima Samoura claims that Senegal will actually use spiritual means to ensure his fitness and presence in Qatar for the World Cup. So, in a recent development, however, Coach Abdul Cisse has revealed his squad for the 2022 World Cup. And surprisingly and unsurprisingly enough, we see the legendary football star was included in the squad. So, Senegal and Sadio Mane hope for a quick recovery before the start of the competition, but because he is actually currently the face of Senegal, and they definitely cannot afford to not have him in the competition, because that would mean a lot, quite a great loss for Senegal. Away from that, we also have this national sport news, where there was a question mark attached to head coach's selection for the international friendlies that the Gambia is preparing for. So it says that was Scorpion head coach biased in his selection. So the final squad list presented by Tom Saintfield has actually been subjected to criticism and linked to possible biasness. So the exclusion of few exceptional Gambian professional players in the training camp has left many wondering if the selection was actually based on personal preferences. So the likes of Alassane Mane, who has gained several recognition in the Danish Super League, and Ali Sow, who of the Turkish top flight, whose striking skills have got him 3 goals so far this season, were both excluded in the list, and then people were actually asking questions. And in fact, I think it is normal for people to ask this question, because if you look at these the players, they've been doing amazingly well, and the fact that they've not been included in the list could have had some, it could have been something else. It could have not just been because they are not good enough for the team, and it is already clear that they deserve a space in the national team that is going to represent the Gambia in the international friendlies that they're going to take part in. But then unfortunately they are nowhere to be seen on the list. So but in a recent development, as announced by the GFF, the initial arrangements for the international friendlies ahead of the African Cup of Nations have changed because they said that the Gambia will no longer play DR Congo or Liberia because DR Congo unfortunately brought their B team instead of the A team that was expected by the Gambia, and unfortunately Liberia has also announced its withdrawal from the competition. So the Gambia will not be playing DR Congo or Liberia anymore, but they will still be taking part in the friendlies. So that was all in the reviews today. But do join us. We're going for a short commercial break, and after that is the real deal. We're going to be having Yahya Menten Sanyang, Honorable Yahya Menten Sanyang, the parliamentarian for Latikunda Sabiji, and we're also going to have Yahya Sonko, who is a migration expert, to talk to us about the migration crisis recently happening. And do stay tuned. We'll be going for a short commercial break and we'll be right back with our guests for the discussion. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers, and we're back from our commercial break, and we have Yahya Sanko here, a migration expert. And welcome to the program, Yahya Sanko.
Thank you very much, Hawa, my host today. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just to remind the viewers, if you're new to our Facebook page, like and follow us to get to receive our updates, our news updates, as well as programs like this that we'll be bringing to you. Mr. Sonko, kindly introduce yourself to our viewers.
Well, I am Yahya Sonko, like you said, a Gambian by nationality, of course, living in Germany, a region called Baden-Württemberg. Uh, for almost 8 years now, I have been working with Gambian as migrants in EU, in European, almost all the European countries. I've been traveling almost everywhere now, looking after our people. So basically, I am a migration advocate, that I stand here to help advocacy for my people, their rights, their asylum rights, integration rights, and try to also guide and counsel them through their stays in Germany and other European countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sonko. And there you have viewers. There you have Mr. Sonko there introducing himself. He's a great migration expert, and he'll be talking to us about migration this evening. So, Mr. Sonko, going straight to business. We've seen in your in a recent Facebook post that you've published a joint press release by the public prosecutor's office in Stuttgart and the police headquarters in Röttingen has actually revealed that a 25-year-old Gambian was murdered by a fellow Gambian companion in a refugee accommodation on Sunday. And kindly take us through this incident, please.
Yes, what happened is like last week I was called by the very day of this incident. I was called by. I received a lot of calls and messages from social workers and migrant helpers, people, German citizens whom they do help Gambians. They stand by Gambians. Uh, After receiving most all these calls, and the news are the same, like the Gambian, and substance or authorities concerned to call houses. So basically, what you said exactly, that's what happened. To his files, according to the last information I received from the German authorities, they are going through his file. They just he had, when situations like this happen, they don't just rush and jail you, or they don't just rush and take you to court. What they do is they follow the due process. They are investigating him. They are going through all his files. According to them, they are going through his medical records. They are going through his asylum records. They are going through all the things that or anything that concern him. They're going through it. They want to find out who he is. What is his mental status? What are some of the things that this boy was doing all along? So from there, after having all this evidence, after putting all this evidence together, then they will take him to court. So it left to the court process how his fate will be known when the court decide whether he's the one who killed or not. But
So
currently
basically,
he's in jail.
it was as a result of his going to report himself that the police actually found out that this boy was murdered.
Absolutely, yes. Basically, it was the first step was taken by himself. He reported himself to the police station. According to the police, that's how they got him. And of course, with or without him reporting himself, the message will go out, the information will go out, and at the end of the day, he is going to be arrested. I think he was just trying to act smart so that because Gambians were there, and then this was like a Heim, like a migration house, a refugee house, where other Gambians and other migrants are living. So basically, if probably to me, what I understood is if he did not report himself, he was thinking probably his colleagues, Gambian colleagues or Gambian friends who are there might attack him. So he quickly go and report himself to the nearest police station.
What could have been the motive for him murdering his fellow companion in a refugee accommodation center?
Well, for now, absolutely, we are waiting for the police report. Probably after their investigation, they will inform us officially what transpired between these two people. But as of now, even yesterday, I called this police station. They said, Mr. Sonko, you still have to wait. The investigation is going on. So I don't want to preempt what is going on. So I will officially wait for police report. Then there I will inform you and other media houses, inshallah.
Right, Mr. Sonko, we will be waiting for that updates on this incident. But another just a follow up question. Why do you think Gambian immigrants are involved in crimes um, while they are actually outside the country? Why do you think such crime rates keep on happening? Because this is not the first time that a Gambian have actually been involved in a crime, a Gambian immigrant for that matter. So, what do you think is the cause for this trend?
Well, sometimes the reality is sometimes some of these boys who are doing this usually are in the influence of drug or alcohol. Like previous cases. When you go through it, or when you know the individual, you will definitely know either the person is mental is he or she is he is suffering from mental illness, or he is in the influence of drug or alcohol. Usually, these are some of the things. These are some of the things. But the past cases, I never see like a Gambian with his with his stable of mind and trying to do such things. So basically, yes, it do happen. And one thing I would like people to also to understand when issues like this happen, I as a migration advocate, always what I said is, of course, we have bad elements among us, but there are thousands of Gambians who are really doing good here. So I don't want this only bad, these few elements, bad elements within us to spoil the name of the entire Gambians in Europe. So definitely, we have very bad elements, few bad elements among us, but there are really very good citizens, Gambians who they are law abiding, they are doing their utmost best, everything humanly possible, legally possible to get integrated here and give a very good name to our country and our people. So most of the cases they are either in the influence of alcohol or mental instability.
All right, Mrs. Sako, thank you very much for pointing that out, because if you look at it, when situations like this happen, people tend to look at what is happening instead of the bigger picture. Because if you look at the migrants that are outside the country, they are it's a lot. So if these things happen only few times, like it's once in a blue moon that you see that a Gambian is involved in crime. So I don't think people should actually link this to the fact that Gambians abroad are all of them are actually involved in crimes here and there. So thank you very
Exactly,
much for
Howard. Before
pointing
you
that
before
out.
before you go to another point, just to elaborate on this, when you look at just let's at statistically, let us look at the numbers of Gambians in Germany. This is a region. Uh, Gambians are most of the Gambians are living in Baden-Württemberg. Baden-Württemberg is a region in Germany. And when you look at this region alone, more than 18,000 Gambians in one region. So that's huge. Okay. So basically, issues like this will continue to happen. Of course, we always do our best to encourage our people to avoid such instance, to avoid such cases. Let them never, however angry you are, I mean, however somebody come, insult you whatsoever, avoid them. Try to run away from crimes, try to run away from fights. It will not help you. So but when you look at the number of Gambians in Germany currently, I think that is the reason. you know every 1 or 2 months we will hear a Gambian do this and this and that. So basically, it is because of the huge number of Gambians living in this region. That is why.
So basically, it is because a lot of Gambians are actually staying in that particular region,
Yeah.
and that is why every once in a while you hear that Gambians are involved in things here and there. But it is actually worth noting that Gambians have been very law abiding. Generally, Gambians have been praised for their long abidingness and how well they've comported themselves in basically everywhere they are. So I think these incidents just naturally happen. Anybody can just be like you said, under the influence of drugs or alcohol or basically anything. Crimes happen, and it's not just because he's a Gambian and people will be like he's a migrant and he's a Gambian, and then people have to make this such a big deal. Crimes happen, and it's not we cannot just look at it to say that he's a Gambian and then just link it to that. Like you said, there are a lot of Gambians in Germany, and crimes just naturally happen. So even in the Gambia here, people kill people. So it like you said, this should not actually tarnish the other migrants that are currently living in the Gambia, and I am sure that people will have a broad mind regarding this, and they will not actually put blame on all the Gambians that are currently living in that particular um, um, um,
Region.
accommodation center. Yeah, so moving away from that, we've recently seen that several of, talking about the same migration issue, we've seen that several Gambians have arrived in Banjul on Friday, November 11, from EU countries, mainly they're from EU countries, and they've been deported back to the Gambia. So tell us more about that incident.
Yes. The it's the same thing. This deportation has been going on for more than 4 good years now. Sometimes in a year it will happen 2 or 3 times. So basically, again, on the 11th of November, which was announced before, it was announced prior to on the 11th. It was announced that Gambia government accepted to receive its citizens from EU 25 Gambian citizens. So yes, they went ahead. European Union went ahead. Most of these people are from Germany. It happened on the 11th. They left here on the 10th in the evening and arrived in the Gambia on the 11th around 2 a.m. So there are 25 Gambians, and they arrived safely, of course. And but yeah, it is deportation has always, the government accepted to receive its citizens, and EU also is saying, to the specific German, is saying that most of these people are people whom they exhausted their chances of staying here, but that can be debatable. So and yeah, and they will of course said few among them committed crimes. So basically, these are people past deportees. I was on Thursday, I was checking records, statistics of Gambians whom they have been deported for the past 3-4 years. From 2017 to date, more than 400 Gambians have been deported from Germany alone. More than 400 Gambians, and all these 400 Gambians are currently in Gambia. So there are a lot of deportations happening. Some are even single deportations. I mean, there are individual deportations, there are mass deportations. Individual deportations are like they will bring them with commercial flights, and mass deportation, like mass collection, will be like they will charter a special flight directly from Europe. Will fly from direct from Europe to the Gambia. Like on the 11th deportation was from Munchin directly to the Gambia. So basically this is what happened, and I wish my brothers all the best. And I will continue to advocate and call on our government, especially stakeholders responsible for this migration, to look into possibilities how to provide sustainable reintegration packages for our these young Gambians whom they are all in Gambia.
Thank you, Mr. Sonko. Which countries are these Gambians mainly from?
Mainly, most of them are from Germany. The fact of the matter is, this deportation, this whole deportation saga, German is behind it. Italy, like Sweden and other EU countries will deport one or two people, but then the whole like the huge number is always from Germany. If we talk about 25 deportees, know that 19 to 20 of them would be from Germany. So absolutely, German is behind all this deportation.
So you told us that there are a lot of Gambians that are currently living in Gambia. So in Germany, sorry. Do you think this has anything to do with the deportation? Is Germany trying to reduce the number of Gambians that are living there?
Well, according officially, German says there are more than 2,000 Gambians officially who should leave Germany to go back to Gambia, who should be deported for that matter. So their reason is that most of these Gambians who are here exhausted their legal chances of staying here. When we say they exhausted their legal chance of staying here, most of us, we the migrants, when we are here, we claim, we ask for asylum. So when you ask for asylum, there are two things involved: either you are accepted or you are rejected. And usually when you are accepted, then they will support you with integration, with some integration sort of support. But then when you are rejected, it's like there comes these deportations, with a lot of struggles that are attached to being a rejected asylum seeker. So Baden-Württemberg and generally the German government are saying that more than 2,000 Gambians should be deported, should leave Germany to go back to Gambia.
Right. So it seems that Germany is embarking on a mass deportation of Gambians back home. We
If seriously, if they can have this from our government, they will be sending. They will be sending. In fact, statistically, according to their EU's former plan with the Gambia government, EU was asking Gambia government to receive every month 50 Gambians from EU. So basically, that's a huge number, in a year.
So based on that, Mr. Sonko, should we expect more Gambians to be coming from Germany and other EU countries before the end of the year?
Yes, absolutely. And also I understand that as a migration activist here, I know one thing. Germany, this new government, German, they're also having a new government. Angela Merkel era is finished. There is another chancellor, with his entire government. So they are changing some laws, migration laws. Okay. So, and we are hoping and expecting, in fact, this is official. They are saying that officially they want to change most of they want to bring some changes, some new laws, before end of December. Okay. So basically, here what we are trying to see is before that change, before this new law started, before this, because when that law changed, when these new things that they want to bring, when it started, you know, uh, uh, many migrants will benefit, including Gambians. Okay, so what I understand is, as a migrant, what I am seeing here is, Baden-Württemberg, and in fact Germany are trying to push out many Gambians as much as possible, because there are so many Gambians whom they exhausted their legal chances of staying here. So, and if you did not commit any crime in Germany, come probably early next year, if you if you are here for more than 5 years, you did not commit any crime, you know, come next year, probably they will not be able to deport you because of the new laws or whatsoever. So of course, let us expect more people to. In fact, more people are coming, because I visited this deportation prisons, where I found a lot of Gambians there, and even some already informed me, like some detainees currently. Even today, I received a call from a detainee who was informed officially that he should be deported to Gambia on the 6th of December. And was it day before yesterday? Another two guys where they tried to deport another two guys. So basically, the deportation is continuing. So, and I'm what I'm seeing is clearly German will deport many Gambians, before 2023.
So right there, Mr. Sonko is telling us that we should expect more Gambian immigrants that will be coming from EU countries. Um, Mr. Sonko, tell us how this whole deportation work. Do they have a particular agreement with the government, and do you think the government benefits in any way from these deportations?
Well, according to European Union, they had an agreement with the Gambia government in 2018. Okay, there was a so-called document called Good Practice Document signed between the Gambian government and the European Union. So this currently, like, if you try to challenge these deportations that are happening currently, even deportees, they inform them sometimes when they take them to court, like, sorry, last week, they tried to deport somebody, a Gambian for that matter. And but before deporting him, they took him to a court, for the court to decide his fate. Either he should go home that very day, or they should leave him. So when at the court informed him that, according to him, a judge informed him that, look, you exhausted all your chances of staying here. You should leave. And in fact, we are asking you to leave because we European Union had the agreement, with Gambia government. This agreement is called Good Practice Document. This document was signed between your government and the European Union, which involves German. So we are using that agreement to deport you because you exhausted all your chances of staying here. So of course there was an agreement. There was a document signed between the two governments. Yes, government officials will tell you that there is no deal, there is nothing. Of course, there is a deal. It was something called good practice document that was signed between the two, European Union and the Gambia government as early as 2018, to date. So EU basically they are relying on that document. They are relying on that agreement between Gambia government. Germany is even using that agreement between EU and Gambia government to deport more Gambians.
So, in essence, you're saying the government plays a role in the deportation, and that they can actually do something to solve or curb the situation. Do you
Yes,
think the
I think
government can
yes.
do anything to curb this?
Yes, I think government have a yes. Of course, they have a hand in it. They are the government. they, you know, they, we are Gambians, of course. So no government official can tell me that we don't have any hands in it. They have absolutely hand in it. So yes, they can do some, like, here. What we are trying to say, or what I am trying to advocate, is for a dialogue. Okay, a solution, a dialogue. Look, I Yaya Sonko, I am never saying zero to deportation. You cannot even say that. Then I would be stupid. Okay, but then sometimes deportation need to be scrutinized. You need to look what kind of people are they deporting. Are these citizens whom they committed crimes in Europe? Are they citizens whom they are law abiding? Are they our citizens whom they are going to school? Are they our citizens whom they are not? they did not, offend any law in Europe, and they are doing well. They are paying taxes. Okay, so of course, our people whom that they commit or committing crimes in Europe, of course, when the law got them, who will nobody want to have criminal in your country. I point here. Okay, so absolutely, I for one, I am not advocating against such. Okay, but what I am against is, seeing our Gambian brothers and sisters whom they are going to school here, seeing our Gambian brothers and sisters whom they are working here in Europe, seeing our Gambian brothers and sisters whom they are doing well in Europe, being arrested at their working place, being arrested at schools, being arrested even randomly in the street, just because they exhausted all their legal chances of staying in Europe. So such a deportation I am against. Okay, but then a deportation whereby, example, if a Gambian is caught with a drug, or if a Gambian rape a European, or if a Gambian do something that is completely against the laws here, I will I for one will never I for one will never go against those such things. So basically, you know, what our government can do is to come to the negotiation table again, and then try to renegotiate this so-called good practice document that they have with European Union, because it's not sustainable. They cannot Gambia government cannot continue to receive, you know, huge number of its citizens, because there is nothing there for them in the country. Currently, I for one, I am not seeing any sustainable reintegration program for these returnees in the Gambia. All what I am seeing is the small and so-called support from other stakeholders like IOM, GIZ. You can name them. So what is the government having for these people? I have not seen anything. Has a Gambian youth. So basically, you know, Gambia government need to come to a negotiation table, renegotiate this deal with European Union. Look, let them. In fact, AU knows all everything that Gambia is going through as a country. They know that we don't have the capacity to receive thousands of our people from Europe. So Gambia don't have that capacity. How are you going to reintegrate them in the system? Look, it also comes with security threats. How many deportees kill? I mean, how many now? How many cases? How many times do you hear a deportee kill a fellow Gambian in Gambia? A deportee kill his father in Gambia. A deportee kill two people at a psychiatric center in Gambia. So basically, it comes with security threat. It might not be a threat to a minister, it might not be a threat to stakeholders, but it is a threat to people that they are living in the same house with, a threat to people that they are living in the same society with. They might not. Some of these deportees come with, some of them, in fact, when they are deporting them, they have this mental instability. They are already mentally ill. They are traumatized. They will come home. Nobody look after them. They are living in the society with that pressure, with that stigma, with that, traumatization. So mentally, sometimes they think of doing some stuff that are against the laws. They can kill people. They can attack people. They can fight with people. They can do so many things. It also comes with security threats. Our government need to, in fact, they know this, because if all those killings that happen because of deportees, our government officials know this. They have to come back, sit in a negotiation table with European Union and discuss these matters.
Thank you very much for citing that. I think that is quite important. We've seen that migrants that have been deported, when they come here, they are traumatized. They live with that stigma in the society, and that alone could have very serious effects on their health, on their lives, and on the lives of the people that they are living with. So thank you very much for noting that there. And also, Mr. Sonko, as a migration activist, what are the steps that you are taking to ensure that these migrants, like you said, have a way of integrating into the society when they come here, and having a better treatment from the government of the Gambia?
Well, what I try to do is, like, in fact, I start before they are deported. Like you can see, sometimes I am visiting prison. Okay, what I try to do is I am not that. I'm just Mr. Nobody. I'm like I don't have the power and the authority to do anything. But all what I do is, as a good citizen, as a concerned citizen, I visit them when they call me. I visit them in prison when I know actually they don't have it. Like if I am speaking to a detainee and I know that this detainee, after listening to him, I know he got no chance, to stay here. They're going to deport him either ways. So what I try to do is to kind of help to advise them, to talk to them that, this is not the end of their life. Going back home sometimes did not mean you are a failure. Don't go there and listen to people. Don't go and see yourself as a failure. I try to advise them. I try to guide and counsel them, prior to their going home. If I know that definitely Mr. So and so must go home, after going through his file or listening to him, or knowing what he was involved in. I try to advise them. I try to counsel them. Okay, try to get them ready mentally for that deportation. So when they arrive home, also, I don't only stop there. I've made some follow-ups. When you go to some stakeholders or some, in fact, ministries, they will tell you that Mr. Sonko have been calling us. Mr. Sonko have been engaging us. I call ministries responsible. I call stakeholders like IOM, like the German Advice Center at Westfield. I call them, our good brother there, council. I call people, I try to engage, I try to ask what is there for these people. Equally, when I am informed, I go back to our brothers whom they are returned home. I inform them, look, go to IOM, go to the German Gambia German Advice Center, go to National Youth Council, go to even ministry so and so. Or there is a project so and so in Gambia, which you. So this is how I help as an individual. Okay, and currently I also establish my own NGO in Gambia, but this is more of in that bank region. They are doing good. I try to that NGO. I use that NGO to help in terms with my team. I have a very good team in Notbank. The office is in Kanuma. We use this NGO also to help in reintegration. Through a partnership with some stakeholders in Gambia. So there are so many things that I try to do. Even here, some returnees will tell you that through me they got support from friends here in Germany. Some returnees will tell you that through me they got this. I don't want to say all these things. It's like what Mandinka said. Maybe fun focus. So we try to do so many things to help our brothers and sisters. Sometimes we know that they have friends here. Sometimes we know that some of them will even make families here. Some of them will be from companies here. So when they leave, when they deport them back to Gambia, we try to follow those connections for them, to try to reconnect them with those people, to see how best they can be helped, even living in Gambia. So basically, these are some of the things that we try to do.
Mr. Sunko, I think it's a good thing you were doing there for Gambian immigrants. But I just have this question: is the government or other NGOs that deal with migrants here and there, do you get support from any of them? Basically, do you have any support from the government or other institutions that deal with migration?
Yes, yes. Sometimes, not always. Like probably I don't know if I should even say this. Just last week, I called the Gambia German Advisory Center. I think that's how it is called at Westfield. Around Prospect. Where I'm talking about. The country coordinator. I think Kausu Silla, Honorable Kausu Silla. A very helpful bro. I call him. To kind of put one and two with him together to see how best can we help some of these deportees. I had a long discussion with him, how best to help these people. So he is ready to work with me, and he has been working with me, okay, to see how best we can help some of these deportees in Gambia, how to train them in some professional with some professional skills, how to get them ready, so basically, yes, sometimes IOM too, IOM, sometimes, like, I know few people there. I know some of their heads. Like IOM before. The former, their former, I think, country coordinator Etienne. Very helpful to me. he's no more there currently, but he was very helpful to me when situations like this happen, when individuals are deported or people Gambians are deported. When I connect them with IOM or with some offices in Gambia, you know sometimes they do help. But some of these, like NGOs or some of these stakeholders that are in Gambia, some of them, they also find it very difficult sometimes to help, because this deportation, when you there are two ways to return. There is a voluntary returning and there is a forceful returning. When you go home voluntarily, usually doors are open for you for quick reintegration. But when you are forcefully returned to the Gambia, I mean, you are deported to the Gambia, sometimes it's also very hard for some of these like IOM or GIZ to support you. So basically, it depends on sometimes how connected I am with them. Sometimes how if there is possibilities for them also to do to offer some helps, they do.
So, Mr. Sanko, what you're saying is basically all the help that you get are from your own personal contacts, but the government does not help in any way with the things that you're doing for these migrants.
For now, government never. I personally, yes, I would say that yes, government never give me any like, yeah, they have never give me anything that probably might be supportive. Probably in future, nobody knows. But for now, no.
Have you personally reached out to them?
Yes, I do reach out to them. Sometimes, but they are government, so it's sometimes very difficult to even get to them. You understand what I mean? You will be sending emails and in fact calls, but the question is, will they respond or do they respond? No. So some they do respond when I, that's how I see it. They do respond when they want to. Basically, communication is the problem, the biggest problem for Gambia government. So, but as uh, somebody who believe in what I am doing, as somebody who think that our youths can make it anywhere, I continue. I don't care whether government or any other person reject me or not. I continue to push ahead. I continue to push ahead. I continue to engage them, in a very diplomacy and civilized way. I am never that advocate who will come to internet and insult our government officials or ministers, so on, so whatsoever. No, I all what I try to do. That's what I come here and said. So basically, I do engage them, and I will continue to engage them. From the presidency down to see how best we can help our brothers and sisters who are deported in Gambia. But I pray and hope that government will take reintegration of our deportees with seriousness. But for now, definitely they are not doing they are not doing enough. They are not doing anything that one can say that our government is trying. No, I would not say that they are trying. In terms of reintegrating these people, no, they are not.
So the Gambia government is not doing enough for the migrants that they're actually deporting to the Gambia. We just hope that they step up and start doing more for these migrants, because you cannot bring somebody in a different environment that he was in, bring it back to the Gambia, and then have nothing for him. Absolutely, I think that is a bit unfair for the migrants. I hope that this gets to them, and I hope that this gets to them actually, and then they start supporting you and in your cause to help these migrants reintegrate into the economy, into the environment, and get back to their feet as individuals. Just one last question, Mr. Sonko. Is there a situation where the Gambians that are currently in Germany or other countries, is there a situation where it is better for them to come back home? Are they in situations in those countries where it would be better for them to come back home?
Yes, sometimes in some situations and circumstances, I prefer some Gambians to go back home than living in Europe. Like sometimes you yourself will see videos of Gambians sleeping in a street for years. Just last week, I came across a video of one Gambian brother in Italy, from Basse, I think Tamba Sansang, you know, uh, he said they were taking him in a video. himself confessed that he was living in that street for years. So basically, what for? In such situations, I before you die in that street, look, now we are getting into winter. It's very cold in Germany. It's very cold in Europe currently. Living in street for years, you develop. Some of them will end up developing sicknesses. Some of them will end up developing some mental problems. So in such situations and circumstances, I prefer them to go home. And I will use this also to help our brothers and sisters. Not Europe is not for everyone. Okay. And I personally even see some Gambians whom when they definitely know that there is no way for them in Europe, they will take some packages like there are voluntary returning packages. So if you take those packages, sometimes they give you some financial support. Sometimes they give you some financial, helps. That you can start something with in Gambia before you die in the street, before you get completely sick here, before you get mentally ill, before you go homeless, completely homeless. I think in some situations and so Gambians have been doing it. Not once, not two times. Last year alone, I helped 8 Gambians to go home voluntarily because to them, their own situation was getting worse and worse and worse. And it was better for them to go home. They contacted me, and I through networking and through some NGOs and of course EU packages, I helped them to go home with something to start life. You know, Eh, some of them are happy in Gambia today. I know one person who is currently very happy doing he's having a cement store, and I know a Gambian who is also having a taxi, and he said he's very happy. And so it goes like that. So in some situations and circumstances, if you found yourself in, try to see what is best for you. If you think going home will be better for you at in that condition, if you don't know how to do it, if you don't know how to get help, contact us. We will help you to go through to have a support and go through a system that might help you to go back home and get reintegrated. It's better that in all that with all that difficulties, with all that suffering, they cane you, put you in an aeroplane, and take you back to Gambia for nothing. There, can your head take it? Probably no. So, of course, yes, there are situations which Gambians, should take, at least packages to go back.
Right. I think I'll agree with you there because there's like they say, there's no place like home. In
Yeah.
any situation, it is way better to suffer in your own country than suffer in other countries where you virtually know and you know nobody. So I think sometimes it is basically better for these migrants to come back home when they are faced with situations that they definitely cannot handle in outside the country. So, Mr. Sonko, it was great having you. I think I'll just let you have your final words, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Well, thank you very much, Hawa, for having me today. My last word will be probably a usual advice that I always give to my dear brothers and sisters to be, and more especially those living in Germany. Currently, the German government, like I said, they're trying to change some laws. They're trying to bring some new developments, in terms of staying rights. So basically, my dear brothers and sisters who are living in Europe, who are living in Germany, all what I would advise you people, check with your lawyers your status. If you are living in this country for 5 good years, you know, for more than 5 years, you are living in this country without committing a crime, okay, and you can speak at least German level of A2, as why, A2, definitely, and you identify yourself with with a national, of course, document, which is a passport. Yeah, come next year, if this new law that they are talking about, is passed, is completely done next year, most of Gambians might be able to have 1 year staying permit. Okay, and that permit, like at the end of after that 1 year permit, if you fulfill all the requirements, you might be given a right to stay. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is My dear brothers and sisters, let us be law abiding. Let us avoid crimes. Let us please stay away from crimes. Selling drugs, selling marijuana, drinking alcohol is not helping anybody. Here is Europe. Let's at least stay away from such things. Let's respect the laws, and let's live peacefully. Let's follow the due process to get integrated in Europe. Learn the language, very, very important. Any country you are, be in Italy, Germany, Sweden, anywhere in Spain, learn their language is the number one thing. Follow the process. Go to school. If you are in Germany, try to have this vocational training called Ausbildung. Regularize your stay. So being the case, I thank you all, for being here with us, and thank you, our. It is a great pleasure to be here with you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. That was Mr. Sanko viewers, a migration expert working with Gambians abroad and institutions that are involved with migration. So thank you very much, Mr. Sanko, and it was a pleasure having you to talk to us about the recent deportations that have been happening. The most recent one being on Friday on the 11th, where Gambians, a dozen several Gambians were actually deported from EU countries, with most of them mainly coming from Germany, where Mr. Sanko is currently living right now. Viewers, that was all we had for you today in this episode of the Week in Depth. Um, we'll just wrap up here, and we'll see you again next Sunday. Thank you. It was with me, our content. Thank you very much.